The system had fallen silent. Not the kind of silence that comes with peace, but the heavy, fearful silence that clung to every corner of the planets. Cities lay in ruin, their towers bent or collapsed, streets littered with debris and smoke drifting endlessly into the dark skies. The alien fleets that had invaded months ago had moved with relentless precision, leaving little chance for survivors. Communications were broken, supply lines cut, and every sign of resistance had been crushed. Hope seemed a forgotten memory, a story told to children that no one believed anymore. In the council chamber of the central planet, representatives from every corner of the system gathered. Some were tall and armored, others fragile and winged, and some had forms no human could imagine. They argued endlessly, their voices rising over one another. Some wanted to surrender, bowing to the invaders to spare what remained. Others argued for evacuation, leaving their homeworlds to the enemy and seeking safety elsewhere. No solution seemed possible. The weight of despair pressed on them, heavy and unrelenting. A young strategist named Leora stood quietly at the edge of the chamber. She was small for her species, and her voice often went unheard over the shouting, but her eyes burned with a clarity the others had lost. She spoke tentatively at first, then with growing determination. "There is a story," she said, "an old legend. Centuries ago, humans appeared in another system. When all hope was lost, they changed the course of war with their courage and skill. We are in a similar situation, perhaps they could come again." A wave of laughter swept through the chamber. Leaders scoffed and shook their heads. "Humans?" one growled. "They are myths. Fairy tales told to scare children. Do you seriously believe a human fleet could appear here?" Leora did not respond. She simply looked at the broken holographic map of their star system, showing the alien fleets advancing steadily, consuming everything in their path. She clenched her fists, feeling the anger rise in her chest. If humans were real, they were the only chance left. On the surface, the situation was even grimmer. Families hid in crumbling shelters, scavenging whatever they could from abandoned stores and wrecked transporters. Children asked their parents questions they could not answer. "Will someone help us? Will we be safe?" The adults could only shake their heads, pretending confidence they did not feel. The invaders' patrols moved with deadly efficiency, leaving no corner untouched. Then, without warning, the sensors blared. Ships were approaching from outside the system. Scouts confirmed the readings, unknown ships moving faster than any alien technology in the system. They were sleek, perfectly formed and precise, cutting through the void as though it were water. The council scrambled to verify the readings, fear and curiosity mingling in their minds. Could this be the humans from Leora's legend? The first ships appeared on the outer edges of the system. They did not fire. They did not attack. Instead, they moved as if studying the battlefield, their light steady and calm. Alien commanders bristled, sending warnings, scanning for weaknesses, preparing for war. Yet the ships made no aggressive moves. Then a message came. It was clear, firm, and unthreatening. The human commander addressed the council directly, offering assistance. They had observed the system and understood the situation. They were ready to help repel the invaders, to protect the survivors, and to restore some order. The council hesitated. Years of defeat and betrayal had taught them not to trust easily. But when the humans demonstrated their capabilities, skepticism turned to awe. Repair drones swarmed through the rubble of the council's spaceport, reconstructing damaged stations in minutes. Shields that had failed under alien bombardment flared back to life, protecting cities and fleets alike. Their coordination was flawless. Every move was deliberate, every action precise. On the ground, the humans did not wait for orders. They moved into the ruined cities, organizing survivors, distributing resources, and helping to rebuild defenses. Children watched as humans worked with tireless energy, fixing water purifiers, stabilizing shelters, and reinforcing damaged buildings. The adults, who had long given up hope, felt something stir within them. Courage. A small spark of hope that had been buried under months of fear and loss. As the first human ships took position, the alien fleets made their move. The humans did not panic. They did not retreat. Instead, they countered with strategies that the alien commanders had never seen. Ambushes were set in unexpected places. Decoys confused the enemy, and rapid repairs allowed the human ships to stay in the fight even when damaged. Every move seemed bold, unpredictable, and frighteningly effective. The council watched in disbelief. What kind of beings were these humans? They did not fight like other species, whose tactics were rigid and predictable. Humans adapted. Humans learned. Humans turned mistakes into opportunities, turning fear into action. Leora's eyes widened as she realized the truth. The humans were not myths. They were real. They were here. And they were extraordinary. In the cities below, survivors began to rally. Inspired by the humans, they formed resistance groups, repaired weapons, and shared information about alien patrols. Humans worked alongside them, guiding, teaching, and fighting when necessary. Ordinary citizens found courage they never knew they had. A technician who had never held a weapon in her life now led a squad to defend a collapsed transport hub. A young pilot, barely out of training, flew missions alongside human veterans, learning tactics that seemed impossible. The aliens, too, began to notice a change. Their previous dominance seemed less absolute. The humans' unpredictability forced them to rethink their strategy. Every plan they executed was met with countermeasures they had not anticipated. Confusion and frustration rippled through their ranks. The very fear and despair they had imposed on the system began to unravel. As night fell over the central planet, the council gathered once more. This time there was no shouting, no despair. They watched the human fleet move in formation, lights gleaming against the dark void, engines humming with power and precision. Leora stood at the edge of the chamber, her heart racing. She knew the battle was far from over. The aliens were still strong and many lives hung in the balance. But for the first time in months, the council felt something they had not dared to feel. Hope. The humans made no grand speeches. They did not boast or demand loyalty. They simply prepared for the coming conflict, showing through action that they were ready to fight, to protect, and to turn the tide. The council and the people below began to understand a simple truth. Humans were extraordinary not because of their power alone, but because of their courage, their ingenuity, and their willingness to act when all seemed lost. As the part ended, the system held its breath. The humans were about to make their move. The alien invaders, confident in their strength, would soon face the reality of beings they had underestimated, and the survivors, once crushed under despair, now dared to hope. A new chapter was beginning, one where humanity could change everything. The human fleet moved with precision that left even the most experienced commanders of the system in awe. Each ship seemed alive with purpose, every movement deliberate. The alien invaders, confident in their superiority, had expected an easy victory. They had underestimated the humans entirely. Now confusion spread through their ranks as their attacks were countered with tactics they had never encountered. On the front lines, the humans coordinated like a single mind. Smaller ships weaved through the enemy fleet, drawing attention and then vanishing, while larger vessels struck critical targets with pinpoint accuracy. The alien commanders grew desperate, issuing frantic orders that often collided with one another, leaving gaps for the humans to exploit. On one of the central planets, Leora watched from the council chamber as humans directed ground operations with remarkable clarity. Soldiers and engineers moved side by side, repairing defensive walls, restoring energy grids, and coordinating civilians into safe zones. The survivors, inspired by the humans' courage and efficiency, began to believe they could survive. Fear began to give way to determination. A young engineer named Maris had spent weeks hiding in ruined tunnels, convinced the system was lost. When a human arrived in his sector, offering guidance and tools to stabilize a collapsing habitat, something inside him changed. For the first time, he worked with purpose, his hands steady as he helped rebuild the walls and secure energy supplies. Around him, neighbors joined in, forming teams to reinforce shelters and gather resources. The presence of the humans ignited a spark of hope in everyone they touched. High above the planet, human pilots executed daring maneuvers that defied alien expectations. They flanked enemy ships, used gravity wells to redirect their trajectory, and struck supply lines with precision. Each victory, no matter how small, sent waves of encouragement through the surviving populations. People who had once given up now shared information, passed messages, and joined defensive efforts. The humans' presence had awakened courage that had lain dormant for months. Even the alien invaders began to notice the change. Their once confident assaults now faltered against the coordinated human resistance. Patrols that had once struck fear into the hearts of the system's citizens now hesitated, wary of humans who seemed to anticipate every move. Strategic points that had fallen without a fight were now defended by humans and local forces working together. Every success of the humans undermined the invaders' belief in their own dominance. In one crucial sector, the humans staged an ambush against the enemy fleet's command vessel. The alien commander had assumed that human ships would scatter under pressure, but instead they executed a precise and coordinated strike. Small fighters created decoys, luring defensive ships away, while larger vessels targeted the command ship's engines and weapon systems. Within minutes, the invaders' flagship was immobilized, unable to coordinate its forces effectively. The victory sent shockwaves through the alien ranks. Confusion and panic replaced confidence, giving humans and their allies the upper hand. Other sectors followed suit. Humans guided local resistance forces, combining their technology and strategy with knowledge of the terrain and enemy weaknesses. The alien invaders found themselves retreating in some areas, trapped in others, and forced to regroup in desperation. On the ground, stories of human bravery spread quickly. Ordinary citizens recounted how humans had led them through dangerous areas, repaired critical systems, and fought alongside them. Engineers who had once believed themselves powerless now stood proudly, showing others what could be accomplished with courage and guidance. Children who had huddled in fear now watched the skies with wonder, hoping to see humans arrive in time to save more lives. The humans' leadership was quiet, but firm. They did not seek recognition or praise, only results. Their focus was on the mission, saving lives, turning the tide of battle, and restoring hope to a system that had known only despair. They treated each person they helped with respect and care, earning the trust of species who had long felt abandoned. This trust, combined with their courage and ingenuity, created a network of cooperation stronger than the invaders had anticipated. As the humans pushed deeper into enemy territory, the alien forces made a final desperate attempt to regain control. They launched a massive assault, concentrating their firepower on key human positions. The humans, though outnumbered, responded with daring tactics. They lured enemy ships into traps, used advanced technology to disable weapons temporarily, and coordinated strikes across multiple fronts simultaneously. Every move was calculated, precise, and unrelenting. In one dramatic engagement, a human strike team boarded a heavily armed alien vessel. They moved quickly, neutralizing defenses, redirecting power, and using the ship's own systems against its crew. Within hours, the ship was under human control. This daring operation inspired other units across the system, proving that the seemingly impossible was possible when humans acted. Meanwhile, Leora and the Council observed the changes taking place across their planets. Survivors who had once fled in terror were now fighting alongside humans, coordinating evacuations and defending strategic locations. Morale surged, hope returned, and a sense of unity emerged among species that had long been divided. Humanity had not only changed the course of battle but had awakened the will to survive and fight in others. Finally, the alien invaders, unable to withstand the coordinated human response, began to retreat. Their formations fell apart, their command disrupted, and their morale shattered. What had seemed an inevitable conquest now turned into a hasty withdrawal. The system's defenders pursued them cautiously, guided by human strategy, ensuring that the retreat did not allow regrouping or counterattacks. As the dust settled, the humans regrouped with the surviving species. There were no celebrations, only quiet acknowledgement of the work done and the lives saved. Leaders and civilians alike approached the humans, offering thanks and sharing stories of bravery, ingenuity, and hope restored. The humans listened humbly, knowing that their purpose had been fulfilled, to turn despair into courage, fear into hope, and defeat into survival. Children ran through repaired streets, their laughter echoing in the rebuilt cities. Adults worked together, rebuilding homes, restoring infrastructure, and strengthening defenses. The humans had shown that even in the darkest moments, courage, intelligence, and cooperation could overcome overwhelming odds. The system, once on the brink of collapse, now stood stronger and more united than ever. Before departing, the human commander addressed the council. "We came because hope had been lost," he said. "But hope is not given. It is earned. You have earned it today. Use it wisely." With that, the humans prepared to leave, their fleet moving gracefully into the void. Their presence would remain in memory, in stories, and in the strengthened resolve of every species they had helped. Leora watched as the humans departed. She understood now what the legends had tried to convey. Humans were extraordinary not because of weapons or technology alone, but because of their courage, adaptability, and willingness to act when others could not. The system had been saved not merely by power but by hope renewed and lives inspired. Even as the human fleet vanished into the darkness of space, the system no longer felt abandoned. Citizens, leaders, and survivors all felt the spark the humans had ignited. They knew now that even when everything seemed lost, the arrival of determined, courageous humans could change everything. Hope had returned, and with it, the possibility of a future free from fear. The once defeated system now looked toward tomorrow with determination. Humans had arrived when all seemed lost, proving that courage, ingenuity, and unity could overcome any challenge. The memory of their presence would endure, a constant reminder that even in the darkest hours heroes could appear, heroes who could turn despair into victory. And so, life slowly returned. Cities were rebuilt, fleets repaired, and communities strengthened. Survivors no longer cowered in fear but worked together, inspired by the humans who had shown them what was possible. The system had survived, it had endured, and it had been forever changed by the humans who had arrived when all hope was gone.